Okay, this video is advice for high school students. So the first one is, what are good electives? Well, I think it's great to be on the debate team, because if you're on the debate team, you get good at arguing. You learn all the different, fallacies, logical fallacies, how to deflect arguments, and you're going to need that the rest of your life. That's a highly valuable skill. JETS is Junior Engineering Technical Society. That can be a good thing. Math team is good. I've known people who their kid got, perfect 800s on the SATs, and I'm like, well, gee, your kid must be really smart at math. They go, well, the kid's just on the math team, does math every day. You do math every day, you get good at it. Personally, I would probably find that really boring. But if somebody wants to get good at math, the fastest way is be on the math team. Do study skills. I'll come back to that in a little while here. Auto maintenance. If your school offers it, take it. Things like economics. Learn about money. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Kiyosaki. Most people don't know anything about money. It's just not taught to most people when they're young, and that's partly why most people end up poor. Learn how to, if there's a Spanish club where you actually have conversations in Spanish, that's much better than the typical class just based on grammar. Join the school newspaper. That's a good thing. Learn how to write and how to publish your writing. Or the school website. Photography. That could be useful to you. Website design. Acting, I think, can be good because learning how to give presentations, how to perform in public, I think that's a valuable skill. Most people get pretty nervous about that. Independent study. If I could go back to high school now, knowing what I know now, gosh, I would try to get into independent study and just do whatever I wanted. I'm not a big believer in structured education. I mean, you do what you have to do, you get your degree and stuff, but, flexibility to study what you want, if you're organized and motivated, is valuable. I mean, if I had the freedom to do it, the things I joke about is I would even do a GED so I could just study what I wanted. But most people aren't organized, don't know enough to do that. Okay, and then also, you want to understand what school is. It's basically a memorization contest. So you want to get good at memorization. Most people fail to understand that, and I didn't really realize that until I was a little older, that school is just a memorization test, and the better you are at memorizing whatever they teach you, the better grades you're going to get, the better test scores you're going to get. And so the paradox is, even though that's what it's about, memorization, no one tells you that, and very few students realize that while they're in the middle of it. A great book is called Super Memory, Super Student by Harry Lorraine. It's all about memorization techniques. I would recommend you study memory contests, those memory contest winners who can memorize a deck of cards and stuff, and learn those techniques. I mostly ended up using word association methods, but it's good to know these techniques. All right. Now the next thing. I wrote a book called Straight A at Stanford and On to Harvard by Peter Rogers. Here's sort of the thick version, more like a grad school version. But there's a version about a half to a third as thick as this, sort of like for high school students, just right to the study skills. And, now a little bit more on study skills. Basically, here's what I see in college. All these families and parents, they mean well, they send their kid to college, and the kid's not really ready for it. There's about triple the workload in college compared to high school. And most kids do poorly their first year. They're just not ready for it. And so what I'm saying is, get yourself ready for it. Number one, you can go to a junior college. Actually, I don't want to get too much about college. I'll do a separate video talking to college students. But for high school students, learn study skills, because I just see tons of people, they have their dreams collapse on them when they go to their freshman year of college. And so what I'm saying here is, why do they fail? Because they don't have good study skills. Usually they're intelligent enough. I mean, if you meet plenty of doctors and professional people, yeah, there's some really bright ones, but most of them are not that bright. They're just hard workers, okay? And they have enough time management skills and organization skills that they can get the work done. And that's a big myth, is that you'll see a lot of people think, oh, well, so-and-so is so smart or got a high score on SAT or is a high GPA. That doesn't necessarily mean they're smart. That means they're a good student. Being a good student and being smart are not the same thing. Don't get me wrong, it helps to be smart. So what am I saying here is, learn these memorization techniques, but there's a lot more to learn. Learn note-taking techniques. Learn how to do self-test. Learn to walk and talk. Learn spaced interval repetition systems. All this stuff is equivalent of increasing your IQ about 30 points. Read the night before for a difficult class. Watch videos the night before. There's lots of things you can do to become better at school. I went through all this stuff. My self-image was athlete all the way until I got injured and realized my athletic career might be over. And then I had to develop myself as a student, and it was a difficult transformation. I wasn't expecting to have to make it. But what I learned was, I had the same brain when I was afraid I was going to flunk out at Stanford, my first set of classes there, as I did later on when I would walk in the room expecting to be the best student in the room. And there was no change in my IQ. The change was I had learned all this stuff, condensed notes and self-test. And the more of these study skills one knows, the better you'll be. And you want to get yourself to the point where it doesn't matter what the class is about. It doesn't matter what the teacher does or if the teacher's good. You are going to learn the material. You're going to suck it up like a vacuum, sit in the front row, crush it. There's nothing you can put in front of me to the teacher. I would get this in my mind. I get kind of psyched up to go to class. There's nothing you can put in front of me that I won't learn. Okay, I didn't even realize though when I was young, later on I wanted to go beyond what's taught in the class, beyond the textbook. But the point I'm saying is for a student to develop confidence, they have to learn that they can tremendously improve their academic abilities. And I like the Carol Dweck growth mindset. She's the one that writes about once a student realizes that increased effort will pay off, then they're more willing to make the increased effort. And what I'm saying is the biggest payoff you will get for becoming a good student is to, number one, learn memorization techniques. Number two, learn general study skills. Number three, have a personal philosophy that values learning. Because if you do that, then it tells your brain, your subconscious, that you want to learn. And look at it as an ultra marathon over time, that you're going to keep on getting more educated, more knowledgeable. And then your brain will just accept that and sort of suck up information, and you'll become more and more educated. So to really educate yourself, you have to do it on your own. School is where you go to get grades, you get certifications, you need to do that. It helps you get a job. However, real education, most of it, is stuff you learn on your own. You can use school to benefit you, but you have to do it. Like, for example, if you're in high school and you have to write a paper, my attitude is write about something you care about. Quite often they're going to try to force you to write about something stupid and meaningless, but you should resist that and try to turn it into something you actually care about. And then use it as an opportunity to develop your ability to write. Try some new techniques of rhetoric, okay? Try making jokes. If you know how to draw, make a drawing to go with the paper that you hand in. Go research a project of something you're interested in. All of that will create it into a valuable learning experience, no matter how stupid the class and how stupid the teacher. Okay, so what I'm saying is you can make it into something good. And again, look at this as an ultra marathon. It's for your life to become a well-educated person. It's not just a quick binge and purge, memorize something the day before the test and forget it all. The goal is to be well-educated for life. And if you make it that your goal, you'll keep on getting more educated. And what happens is, I've seen a lot of things that happen over time. For example, medical students struggle to change subjects and try to get all their studying done for a given day in the beginning, let's say the first semester of med school. But by the later half of the second year, it's quite easy for them to study, 10 hours a day and to go back and forth from all the subjects. Your brain builds up an endurance for doing that. You get good at knowing, what does it take for me to memorize this? What does it take for me to memorize this so that I'll know it 6 months from now? And then, you want to have at least one friend, if possible, who you can have an intelligent conversation with. Get in the habit of always learning. You've seen my magic bathroom stuff. Read in the bathroom. For pleasure reading, I think biographies are real good. Like for a high school student, Ben Franklin is a must-read biography. Basically, he figured out how to get rich at a young age so he could do whatever he wanted the rest of his life. That's a valuable strategy. Financial independence followed by creative use of your time. Self-improvement books are good. If you drive, whenever you get in the car, always have an audiobook on your phone or on a CD player. If you don't know what to read about, again, self-improvement or history books are a good way to go. Have respect for literature, philosophy, and religion. Some people are like, well, I'm a science person, and literature, philosophy, and religion's all BS. No, it's valuable. There's a lot of wisdom in it. And the best scientists are the ones who can express themselves. They write better. They are more articulate. Their papers will read more like a story rather than a bunch of statistics loosely connected. You have to read a lot on your own. That's where you really, and talk to somebody. That really develops intellectual ability. Try to get in the habit of writing. Again, instead of seeing writing projects with school as a hassle, look at them as an opportunity to develop your writing skills. Study the really good writers. Some writer you like, see if you can imitate them. Like a painter imitates a great painter, and then once you're able to have the skill to imitate, then go beyond that and add your own creative twist to it. Keep a journal or a text file of good stuff that you can use for your future writing. I would collect all these quotes, collected thousands of pages of quotes. And I would also write brief biographies of every author of the quotes to understand them. And also I would write essays on different topics. A lot of times, let's say I'm interested in diabetes. I'll maybe have written to myself a 40, 50 page paper on the subject of diabetes. And then when I feel the moment is right, I'll, write a book chapter on the subject. What are the best sports? I think tennis is probably the best sport. The reason why tennis is the best sport is you could play it your whole life. You can play with men. You can play with women. You can play indoor, outdoor, whatever the weather, all year round. Running is good. Runners are real smart. They're like some of the smartest people, and you can do that most of the year. Golf is okay, and it's good because you meet a lot of rich people, so you learn good manners, how to behave around rich people. Maybe they'll give you a job someday. But the problem with golf I didn't like is you smell the herbicides they spray on the grass. That's why I was not enthusiastic. That's also why I don't really like swimming too much, is that you're inhaling all that chlorine every day. I think it lowers IQ. That's my opinion. Inhaling chlorine every day for a couple hours. Okay, like when I had a pool in my backyard, what I used to do was I would put liquid chlorine into it and have it so that the chlorine would be very low at the time that people would actually be in the pool, just to sanitize it before they went in. Wrestling, I think, is a great sport, but you don't want to get caught into cutting weight. Learning technique is good. You should think of wrestling like being like Bruce Lee, having a lot of technique. You don't want to think of wrestling as being a question of starving yourself to get down to a lower weight class. That ruins everything. That ruins your school performance, your wrestling performance. So anyways, I hope this was helpful for high school students, and the big thing is, if they want to be successful in academics, learn memory techniques, learn study skills, and get in the habit of reading a lot on their own and having somebody they can have intelligent conversation with.